Hello there everyone, it's Aidan from Push Square and this is your weekly spoiler review for The Last of Us television show, this time for episode 6 entitled Kin. If you haven't caught up with my review series then you can check out all the videos on the channel, and if you're looking for something a little less spoilery you can check out my written review, which I'll link down in the description. So just like in the game, Joel and Ellie are in search of Tommy in Wyoming. We've jumped ahead a few months from the tragedy of Kansas City with Henry and Sam, and now we're really getting into the meat of the relationship here between Joel and Ellie. So for one, I've been saying it every week, the time that they've been taking with these characters, the way that their relationship has been evolving, the characters have been developing, I think it has been incredible. I think these two actors have done such a great job with these characters, and seeing them open up more and more as the episodes go on has been such a great experience. I think it's been a fantastic adaptation in that regard, and Joel, Pedro Pascal in particular for this episode, I think he was really great because we're finally starting to see behind that rough stoic exterior. We're starting to see the cracks forming. We're starting to see how the death of Sarah is very much still on his mind. We knew it, we knew he was a broken man, but now there's no real doubt that what's happening, the relationship he's forming with Ellie is putting him through some stuff. I love seeing that. I love them sort of delving into the fact that he has like a lot of anxiety over it. He's having panic attacks over it. Obviously these are new additions from the game, but it's a nice way to physically show like, now this man's struggling. This man is not okay. It's something I think they've done a lot more like subtly in the game, but I think it works here. Seeing like a more emotional version of Joel, I think it works for the medium. I think because we aren't getting all of that downtime, the downtime that really showcased how much of a struggle it was for Joel, I think it works here. And the fact that we're really only seeing that, like he's trying to keep it private from Ellie, but he can't really. And the only point that we really see him open up is with his own brother. So I think it really works. I have really enjoyed it. That of course brings us on to Gabriel Luna's performance as Tommy. We had Jeffrey Pierce in the game. Now we've got a slightly different version. There were big shoes to fill, but I think Gabriel Luna done a fantastic job. My favourite part with it really was like filling in, having a lot of context basically between their relationship through, you know, the stuff that we're talking about, but more importantly, the way they sort of reacted to each other. There's obviously like a strong emotional bond there. They're brothers after all. When they first meet, it's a lot more emotional than it is in the game. But then to go on to the stuff when Tommy reveals that Maria's actually pregnant and he's going to be a father for the first time, seeing like there's a disconnect there, there's tension there, and Tommy is kind of intimidated by Joel in a way as well. I really like the dynamic. I'd be sad to know that he's not really going to be in this season much more. I think that might be the last we see of him. However, going into season 2, hopefully a much bigger role, and I think we're in more than capable hands with this actor. I thought he was great. And just to touch on very briefly, in Jackson, I love that we're getting small little Easter eggs to part 2. Obviously we don't see Jackson really actually in the town in part 1, we see it in part 2, but obviously we're getting a lot more of that in this adaptation. I believe we got a little hint at Dina with the girl that was watching Ellie, who she then shouts at. We also got the little horse Shimmer, which is Ellie's horse from part 2, so I got to assume that will be coming back. I love the small little hints here or there. It's like they're laying the groundwork for part 2 already, which I've got to appreciate. Now there are some things that I did have issue with in this episode. Essentially after we've left Jackson, I felt like the pace ramped up because obviously we got to the university level, which is quite an infamous like fan favourite level from the game, and I just didn't feel like they spent enough time there. I felt like it was going through because I was actually looking at the clock knowing there's can't be more than like 10 minutes left here, wondering like, are they really going to blast through all of this stuff? Because the university was like a great way to show, okay, Ellie and Joel have entered the next stage of their relationship. They're going through this place, they're discussing some things, Joel's opening up a little bit more, and we do get that when Joel's talking about how he wants to be a singer. They're explaining like random things like football, I believe. But then we just sort of go in, the Fireflies aren't there, we see a map that shows that they're going to somewhere else, the guys show up, and then obviously the disaster of Joel getting almost fatally wounded. On paper, yes, everything that happened in the game happened here, but I just didn't feel like it spent quite enough time. I didn't feel like they were taking the same pace that they've been taking throughout the rest of the show, and I think I was becoming aware of it. I hope the show isn't becoming aware of the fact that, oh man, we've got 3 episodes left now, and we've got a lot of story to cover. Looking at the preview for next week, you got to assume it's going to be the Left Behind DLC in its entirety for that episode. Then after that, you know, you've got, I'm not going to spoil it here, quite a few wee bits. Not too much, but quite a bit to fit into 2 episodes. You've got to assume that at least the last episode is going to be an extended, longer, like movie length episode. At least I hope so. I would really hate for them to change the pacing when they've been taking it so slow up until this point. They've been really patient, and it's benefited greatly from that. The evolution of Joel and Ellie's relationship has been very natural. It feels earned every step of the way. Every time we take a little extra step, every time Joel reveals something or Ellie reveals something, it all feels very natural. And I would hate for that to suddenly not be the case when the creators just go, oh, we've got like a lot of stuff to do, blah 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 blah, let's go through all of this. I didn't feel like the university hit the way that it did. I didn't feel like Joel's injury, it felt very rushed in comparison. So yeah, that was my biggest complaint. Although ultimately the stuff with Joel and Ellie and Joel and Tommy, I loved all of that, and it made this probably one of my favourite episodes since probably episode 3. So let me know if you agree with me. Do you think it sped up a little bit too much at the end, or did you enjoy it just fine the way it is? Do you think that's just what happens when you adapt it to television? Let me know down in the comments, and of course if you want to keep up to date with these weekly episode reviews, then why not subscribe to us here on Push Square. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.